How's it going, my good friends? This is ZPB Studios here, and welcome to ZPB Obscure Media, where I'll be looking at media that not a lot of people know about and very few people do. In this episode, to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the Thomas and Friends television series, I'll taking a look at the scrapped pilot for the sad story of Henry from 1953. So, in late 1952, 7 years after the Railway series books had launched, BBC acquired rights to make a series based on the books, and Freda Lindstrom, who was in charge of the children's television department of BBC at the time, wrote a letter to Eric Marriott, who was the editor of the Railway series, to obtain the rights to adapt the two stories from the Railway children's for TV. She stated that the episodes were scheduled to be broadcast during BBC Children's Hour on the 14th and 28th of June of that year, in offering of £1 per minute. R.G. Walford, of the BBC's copyright department at the time, pointed out, in order for the story to fit the retired time slot, he pointed out that the stories required adapting. Marriott accepted the deal, and on the 1st of May 1953, Douglas Mayer was designed as director for the series. He decided to use miniature locomotives on a set, which would be made to look like the characters from the books. He got in touch with Meccano Limited, who provided a layout and the necessary model trains for the show. However, they had some conditions, such as not altering the models and only putting faces on the smoke boxes. The BBC also convinced Wilbur Awdry that the models looked similar, if not identical, to the engines in the books. But Awdry did not agree with their statements. While the models were being delivered by Mayer, Edmund Ward hired P.R. Wickham, an occasional collaborator of Wilbert's, to suitably adapt the models so they would look close to the books as possible. When creating the models, Wickham used balsa wood to model the shells of what become James and Edward, and repainted the two remaining models, most likely to create Henry and Gordon. Talking of models, one of the surviving evidence of this pilot has a picture of James, who looks really weird and looks a little like the Vid mask. Anyway, the BBC crew began rehearsing the episode when Wickham accidentally put the wrong type of back coupling on Henry, which caused injuries with him pulling a train. However, by the time that they did the second rehearsal on the 14th of June, it appeared that they were able to fix the problem. But little did they know that bad things were going to happen. On the same day, the programme broadcast as intended. It lasted 10 minutes and many complex shots, including people shown pulling and pushing Henry along the tunnel. And the series, before Ringo Starr, was narrated by Noel Middleton. However, this is where it takes a turn for the interesting. Reportedly, Henry's model during filming derailed, and Robin Webb, who was a volunteer from the Talwyn Railway, recalled watching the broadcast and stated that Henry was facing away from the camera and moving towards the left of the screen when it derailed. Then someone from the crew reached down from the top right of the screen and tried to put the model back on the rails. Mayer explained that the derailment likely happened due to the faulty coupling on the back of the model. And when the engine derailed, Middleton had to adapt the script on the spot to fit the situation on the screen. You think that would be a good thing, since it would have justified what just happened. But no. Another thing happened during the episode's broadcast is that the model portraying Edward broke down, and they had to replace him with James right before a scene which was originally meant for Edward. These mistakes, along with the jittery models, angered Wilbur Audrey and Edmund Ward to no end. Audrey told the BBC in an ultimatum, he said that unless they avoided the mistakes in future episodes, he wanted them to cancel the show completely. And, however, the BBC scrapped the series, and we wouldn't get a television series based on the railway series until 1984, when Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends debuted. Unfortunately, as BBC at the time didn't have a central archive, the only remaining scraps of the pilot is that image of James I showed you earlier, as well as some news stories. I'll post them on the screen for you. Did you find this episode of ZPB Obscure Media interesting? If so, put a comment down and like the video. Well, that's the end of this episode. Make sure you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. This is ZPB Studios signing off.